What's in a name? Well, in the case of most Pokemon, a lot. I've been thinking about Pokemon names quite a bit lately, as I love portmanteau names. Portmantames. See? I just can't stop mixing words! This is what most Pokemon names are, portmanteaus. A combination of words to combine their meaning. If I Google it right now, some examples are... Pokemon. Wow, it's in there. Infomercial, cosplay, Medicare, sitcom, listicle, and like 9/10 of the Pokemon, but we've explained most of their names in a couple different languages too over the years already. So today, I'd like to just point out the Pokemon with the most unique names, not in terms of etymology, but in terms of odd symbols or accent marks that most Pokemon don't have, and explain why. Like, having a colon or a number in your name is kinda odd, right? And have you ever wondered why the Nidorans specify their sex in their name? Like, Nidoran male is its name. Why? Well, since they're the first to pop up in the Pokédex, let's talk about them first. The Nidorans are essentially just products of their time. Pokemon breeding wasn't introduced until Gen 2 with Pokemon Gold and Silver, and along with that, they of course introduced all the mechanics necessary for breeding to take place. As of now, your Pokemon can be male or female, and so can you. Before then, in Gen 1, no Pokemon had specified sex other than the Nidorans, and they specified that the only way that they could at the time, via their names. Like plenty of later Pokemon, they evolved differently based on that, but at the time, the only way they could program it is if they were technically different Pokemon, but they wanted them to be the same, so they gave them the same name and just specified whether it was the male or female variant by putting this odd symbol after their names. They could have totally fixed this in Gen 2, but I suppose that might have messed with Pokédex numbering, so they didn't. But here are two other unique names that are merely products of their time, Victreebel and Feraligatr. I mean, just look at how these names end. Ew, I don't like it. But it's just because at the time, Pokemon names could not be any longer than 10 characters long, and both of these names are in dire need of an 11th character. But that was impossible. It's plenty feasible now, though. Look at Crabominable. Unfortunate you have to see it, I know, but it has 12 letters in its name, making it the longest. And Basculegion is 11 characters long, making it the longest heterogram, which is a word I do not know. Is he just as straight as can be, like down to the gram? Ah, no, it's a word that does not repeat any letters. And bonus fact, it's also the only Pokemon name that contains every vowel. In a way, it's sort of the antithesis of Wooloo. Oh, look at that name. It's got 2 sets of double O. It's just a single vowel 4 times. 2/3 of its name. Perfect for rolling down a hill. Tangentially related fun fact. Did you know that Canada is 2/3 A? Canada also has no living native giraffes. This is a real segue. Girafarig's name is a palindrome. That means the name is read the same forwards as it is backwards. Notable because Girafarig has a head on the end of its tail too. And if you look at the beta version of Girafarig, you can really start to see how far they were going with this whole palindrome idea. The same forwards as it is backwards. Raycon is an interesting name, and as a palindrome, it would be Rayconokiar. It's the name of this video's sponsor, and they bring you their everyday earbuds, which are so good they have over 50,000 5-star reviews. But why though? Could it be because they provide great sound quality at just half the price of other premium audio brands? Is it because they are durable and water resistant and they have gel tips that are snug enough not to fall out yet still comfortable? Is it the noise isolation, the awareness mode, the digital assistant compatibility, the wireless charging case that gives it 32 hours of power or straight up 8 hours of active playtime outside the case? Is it because your favorite YouTubers are always giving out custom discount links like this one, buyraycon.com/Lockstin, which is now down in the pinned comment and description, and it gives you 15% off your order? Or is it D, all of the above? Wait, was this a multiple choice quiz? How did all of those fit into only 3 options? I find that a bit unbelievable. It's Farfetch'd. Oh, you're tired of that joke, huh? Well, here you are, sir, your very own everyday earbud, so you can drown out the background noise with some sweet tunes. It's a good thing you're not a chicken, or you'd only be able to listen to Bach. Speaking of, Farfetch'd and Sirfetch'd have these apostrophes in their names, which are normally used to show possession, that is, bills leak, or they can be used to show contracted words or omitted letters. Don't believe me? I'm sure you shouldn't doubt it. You've probably learned this in school. Granted, all the apostrophes are doing here is replacing an E, so they aren't really contracting or shortening anything. Rather, it could just be to get an accented pronunciation across. In literature, you'll often see apostrophes replacing parts of words in quotes to help get a character's accent across. Mark Twain famously did this a lot. And you'll notice that in the anime, they barely say the D in the name at all.
Farfetch'd! Farfetch'd, no!
Hence, the apostrophe. Notably, Farfetch'd and Sirfetch'd each use different typographical apostrophes in Pokemon Go. The one that Sirfetch'd has is possibly a reference to the apostrophe's original form found in medieval manuscripts, as it is a medieval knight after all. But speaking of accents, Flabebe has two of these cute little accent marks above the E's. Normally, accent marks help the reader understand how a letter is to be pronounced, but this particular one is used many different ways based on the language of origin. Thankfully, we know that in this case, said language is French, because this Pokemon is native to Kalos, which is based on France. And so, these E's are pronounced as A, same as in Pokemon. Hyphens are also sometimes used to get accents across, as well as pauses or breaks in words, like in the Kommo-o line and Ho-oh. And that little pause is important. In some languages, it's actually like a letter that means you don't pronounce anything here. And for instance, Mo-o is Hawaiian for dragon or lizard. They don't say moo or moo, they say Mo-o. Except the Jangmo-o line aren't really Mo-o, that's Salazzle. Video about that right here. But hyphens can also be used to conjoin multiple words into a single meaning, such as the shelves were well stocked and up to date with 9-year-old wines. And this is how Porygon-Z uses it. It's conjoining that Z into the name. But why? Well, first there's Porygon, and then it upgrades and becomes Porygon2, the only Pokemon with a number in its name, by the way. And then, rather than upgrading again into Porygon3, it upgrades with a glitchy, dubious disc and gets corrupted. A Z looks like a glitched out angular 2, does it not? However, because Z is a letter and not a number, if they just wrote out Porygons, you'd pronounce it that way, Porygons. So they separated it, but still wanted it to be one word with one meaning, so Porygon-Z. Notice the tiny bit of silence between the two, but it's still one word. Kinda. And plus, up until this point, there were still no Pokemon with a space in their name.
Hey yo, what about Mr. Mime?
What about Mr. Mime? Nobody likes counting him, but okay, fine. Mr. Mime has a space in it, also a period, which is unique to Mr. Mime and Mime Jr. And it wouldn't be until Generation 7's Type Null that we'd get another Pokemon with a space in it without a period. It uses a colon instead. Colons are used a few different ways. Like, you could use it to start a list that specifically does not flow with the rest of the sentence, or to separate two independent clauses when the second explains or illustrates the first, or, as is the case with this Pokemon name, it can emphasize a phrase or single word at the end of a sentence. There was only one verdict such an edgelord would receive. Guilty. This Pokemon has no name. It is a failed scientific experiment. The Aether Foundation was attempting to create their own Arceus, a Pokemon who is all types at once, and instead they created this thing who is none of the types, except normal if that counts. So it is only known by a code. Type Null. And in this generation, we did finally get a Pokemon with a space in its name that wasn't after a punctuation. In fact, we got 4. Tapu Koko, Tapu Lele, Tapu Wooloo, and Tapu Fini. They are based on 4 Hawaiian gods, and we have a whole video diving deep into them right here. But compared to most languages, Hawaiian uses a load of spaces, apostrophes, and hyphens when transliterated into English letters. So at some point, Game Freak probably was using these and just decided to drop it and just have spaces in their names. And besides, Tapu is Hawaiian for taboo or forbidden because it is holy, which is fitting of them, almost like a title of their status followed by their specific name. So just like Mr. Mime, it's a mime named Mime, and it's a Mr. It's Mr. Mime. This is Koko, and this is Wooloo, and they are both Tapu. Please refer to them as Tapu Koko and Tapu Wooloo out of respect of their status. And I think that's pretty neat. These are all pretty neat, really. What are your favorite Pokemon name facts? Is it perhaps that Ekans and Arbok are just Snake and Cobra backwards? Because that blew my mind when I was 7. Let me know down below, and until next time, never stop using your noggin, and be sure to check out something. Bye.